So how do you mind map so effectively to the point where understanding chunky textbooks like this becomes an instant breeze? Well, in this video, I'll be teaching you exactly how you can go from boring linear notes to dynamic connections and visual notes that can help you understand a concept much better and, more importantly, much faster. So instead of reopening your books and rereading those boring long paragraphs, you can instead follow a visual tree of the topic you are learning using mind maps. If you guys just want to skip to the tutorial, then you can head down to this timestamp. But anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into how you can start with mind mapping. So for the device I'll be using for this video, I'll be using XPPen's Magic Notepad to demonstrate this mind mapping tutorial. I just want to say a quick thank you to XPPen because they were kind enough to send this tablet, which I found to be really cool. I've been using it for notes and such for the past few weeks, and I really like how the tablet has a paper texture, which I could even change the colors as well, so you could make like a paper looking thing. And the pen even has features where it can measure different pressure sensitivities as well, so writing feels actually pretty nice on this. So yeah, just a little thank you to XPPen for sending this. If you guys are interested and if you're wondering and you just want to check it out, then you can head down to the link in the description below. Alright, so first let's discuss what mind mapping isn't. Mind mapping is not the same as taking notes. It may be tempting to use mind mapping as a way to take notes from a lecture or from a textbook, but you're immediately doing it wrong by thinking about it as a way to take down notes. Instead, think of mind mapping as a visual way to understand information and to visualize that information in a sort of 2D medium. Well, yes, you can use mind maps as a sort of way to take down notes. Remember that that is not the main reason of why mind maps exists in the first place. I've mentioned in my How to Remember Everything video is that our brain understands everything or remember things better when information is linked together, just like how our brain is linked with neurons. Isolated facts are so much hard to remember unless there's a given context around it or if there's a given link to pre-existing information that we know already. Now, just because mind mapping is some sort of alternative to taking notes, a lot of people assume that all you need to do is mind mapping, which is not true effective studying, because true effective studying always involves different steps such as active recall, blurting, and so much more. It's not just a one process thing. Don't expect mind mapping to instantly solve your problems as I expected it to do a long time ago, because it's not a one-all-fits solution. Or one-fits-all solution. When I started mind mapping, I thought that I just had to mind map and be done with it, but reality hit, I stopped doing the other key components as well, which made me stop studying effectively, which affected my grades in the long run. So what mind mapping really is a way for you to visualize your way and to keep track of what's really happening in your subject. It's a great way to visualize different connections and relationships of different terminologies and how each terms fit in the bigger picture, and having this visual way to express ideas and subjects can be very useful in serving a purpose of understanding. So if anything, mind mapping really is a way for you to digest and to understand information rather than creating notes themselves. However, the good thing about mind mapping is that since it's a very visual way of breaking down your subject, you can go back to your mind map again and you can familiarize yourself again with the different connections and the whole context of the subject. Now, before I begin this video, I just want to start with the hard truth is that mind mapping is not for everyone. Just because it's done by a lot of people doesn't necessarily mean it's effective for you and for the general population. And it really depends on whether or not you can mind map effectively. You might watch this video and mimic everything that I've taught, but without really understanding the core reason and the fundamental of why you're mind mapping, then either you're doing something wrong or mind mapping is not for you. And don't worry, it's fine if it's not for you. Everyone works better with different kinds of study techniques. But remember, treat mind mapping as a supplemental technique rather than your only technique for studying. Alright, so let's start with the core of mind mapping. I'll be using a sample chapter from one of my anatomy books to show you how to mind map. The first step you need to understand about mind mapping is that less is more. Remember, mind mapping is not about writing notes. Instead, your goal is to write core topics and the relationships between those topics and terminologies. Alright, so for neurophysiology, I'm going to be using this as my reference for today's example. I have my PowerPoint over there on the right open, so I will be doing that for today's mind map. So typically when I start with a mind map is I start with a general idea at the center, which is neurophysiology. Obviously you can make this on the top, or if you want you can put this on the side. You can put this on the top and have a central word over here, but typically I like this in the center. So neurophysiology on my PowerPoint is really based on the nerve cell. So the first thing that my PowerPoint is telling me is that it's dividing our sensory system into 3 fundamental steps: sensory, interpretation, and motor response. So in my map language, I'm going to write that over here. So I'm going to put a little bracket over here. And then I'm going to put steps over here. So already I'm summarizing an entire slide just in this whole diagram. So you can kind of see how powerful mind mapping is and how easy and fast it is in creating sort of summaries of your slides. So when mind mapping, you really have to separate certain categories of information. So for example, this is more on the process of the nervous system that we have. However, since this is also physiology, which means that there's a bunch of anatomy as well, we can't just solely study the functions as well. So on the next slide, it tells me that neurophysiology is the study of our neurons in our nervous system. I'm gonna write that over here. So just gonna put anatomy over here. And then I'm gonna put nervous system. And then another arrow, nerve cells. And that way I can already tell that, okay, this is the steps of the system, and then this is the step hierarchy of the anatomy process. And just from looking at this, you can already see that this is summarizing a couple slides already, which is really, really cool. Here on the next slide, it says that our nervous system is subdivided into 2 decisions. Now our nerve cells also has a division, so I'm gonna write over here. However, our nerve cells are not just comprised of neurons, but they also have neuroglia, which is a nerve cell support, which is a type of cell that helps supports neurons. So I'm just gonna put that over here. So we have neuron, and over here we have neuroglia. There we go. So
Step 2 and another tip is to use colors to identify different relationships.
So now that you've got the basic gist of how to mind map, now it's time to color your systems. So the good thing about mind mapping is that you can use different colors to differentiate the different relationships of your terminologies. So here, for example, we have nervous system. Let's say I want to talk about the different systems that the nervous system have, 2 in specific, the CNS and the PNS. So I'm just going to pick a different color here, preferably something lighter like a gray. So I'm just going to add a new color, make it a little lighter, make it a shade of gray. So I'll do that, and then I'll do that, then make a little branch over here, and we have CNS and PNS. So central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Now we already have we have a very simple mind map of our nervous system and our nerve cells and whatever. And this is much more effective than just reading a paragraph or a linear note fashion type notes. In my opinion, this is much more easier to understand than to read a paragraph of notes. Over here again, we can put the different hierarchies, so we can even use different symbols as well to identify the different hierarchy of information. So for example, here I want to identify the different organs in the CNS. So we can use a different color, but we can also use a different symbol. So let's say I want to put a bracket there just to show the different organs, and I'm making it red because, you know, blood, organ, I don't know. For example, in the CNS, it contains the brain and the spinal cord. And then for your PNS, make it a bigger bracket. This includes nerves, ganglia, enteric plexus, and sensory receptors. Notice how this is already a very good visual of breaking down your information into different hierarchies. Had you just written down it in a paragraph form, it will look weird. But having it in a visual setting like this is very useful. So on the next slide, it says that most signals that stimulate muscles to contract originate from the CNS. So you can actually put a relationship between this and this because they are related. The CNS is sending signals to contract muscles and glands. So I'm going to be using a lighter gray arrow here, so a lighter color. I'm just going to make an arrow over there and make an arrow. Relationship. I know this is a horrible arrow. Give me 1 second. Let's just make a better arrow over here. There we go. And now you can kind of see how this is very powerful when you start breaking down information like this, because you don't have to write paragraphs of notes anymore. You just have to do this. As long as you understand what each part means, then you will save so much time by just making a mind map like this.
Anyway, I hope you guys found value from this video. If you guys have any other tips about mind mapping or note taking in general, then do leave the comments down below. And if you guys want to check out the tablet that was used in this video, then you can head down to the link in the description as well if you want to get a tablet for yourself. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Good luck on your school. It's the new school year coming around. I'm sorry if I haven't uploaded for a bit. I got a little sick and I'm still sick until now. So if you noticed in my voiceover that I'm a little sick, then yeah, I have a little cough. So I'm recovering until now. But anyway, don't forget to drink your water and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to take care of yourself because being sick is not fun. Bye.